Okay, I'm going to do a couple fairly quick videos about replacing distributor caps, rotor buttons, and redoing the leads, putting new leads in and fixing them to the distributor cap. So I'll do it in two videos. This one I'll do taking it off, and the second one I'll do putting the leads on and so on. So basically 8mm, you've got 3 of these. I have done this in another video, but this is particularly a video for just the distributor caps and the leads. I've got a bit of a miss in my car, and I hadn't replaced these leads since I bought it. I replaced the back ones but not the front ones. Back ones were cracked, obviously down too close to the headers. I use a little socket for this. You can use a screwdriver, flathead. I find it's easier to do it with a socket, and you don't need an extension for the top two, but the bottom one you need an extension for. Just screw them out. Obviously you've got to take the rubber boots off first. They have a rubber boot on them. I'll grab that rubber boot and show you. Ordinarily this rubber boot is sitting over it. You can just peel it back. Mine are a little bit perish there, they're broken, so they come on and off, and I just cable tie them around here. I want to renew them. I just didn't this time because they're not that bad. So they're only about $20 Australian, so I think, well actually, so about £20 actually. So there's the cap off, okay, and unplug your coil lead, pretty easy, and then just go along and pull all your plugs off like that. I'm going to do all 4. Bring them out. And it's out. It's that easy. Okay, so these actually go in. You've got little screws in here where you put them in. This little button here, I'll show you. You take that out and you get the screw in the center there. You get the screw in the center there for your coil lead. So once they're out, obviously you don't need to take out the extensions. They come out sometimes with the plugs, with the plug leads. Just pull them off, put them back in, and of course your rotor button simply just pulls off. Just pull him off like that. It's got a flat on the end of the camshaft there. It's got a flat, so they're pretty hard to get wrong. I'm renewing these two. I'm renewing the leads, and I'm renewing the distributor caps as well. I've got all my parts in finally. So I'll take the back one off, and then I'll do the video of connecting up the leads and so on, putting the leads into the distributor. See you soon. Okay, part 2 is looking at going through the parts. This is my parts box I got from Superformance. It only took about 5 days to get here from the UK to Australia, so I thought that was pretty damn good. I was really pleased with them. They're excellent. Here's my 2 distributor caps. I would say that is going to be my rotor buttons. Should have 2 of those. And front and rear leads. And there's my invoice. I collect all my invoices. I keep everything in a file. Every single part. I even keep the old parts. I don't throw old parts out. I put them in an old box container and keep them. It's good proof. It's good proof if you ever go to sell the car. You can show them all the maintenance that you've done. I sometimes even keep these boxes. Pretty handy. So this should be the rotor buttons. Yep, 2 brand new rotor buttons. Got the correct ones, which is great. Yeah, if you're going to do a distributor, do your rotor button as well. And the distributors. Now what's really cool about these particular distributors, okay, I know the light's not great there, I'll fix that, is that inside these ones from Superformance, they have a little button there. You can press it down, you see it pressing down. You have to take that out, you take it out carefully. It's got a spring underneath it to get to the screw that allows you to put in your coil lead. Okay, now these are from Superformance. Now let me point something out. I've replaced one of these before and I got the part from Eurospares, and when I got the part from Eurospares they sent me this one, which basically looks identical to the other one. Okay, it's hard to tell. The only difference is inside here, instead of a spring, there is, sorry the light's not that great, but there is this thing here, which is just flat. It doesn't press in at all, there's nothing to it. Now, problem being, how do you get to the screw that's under there once you've seated your coil lead in? If anyone knows, because buggered if I know, if anyone knows how you can do that, I'd love to know in the comments or something, but I really don't know how to get that back out without damaging this, so you can pull your coil lead out and then reseat it. These ones, yeah, these aren't hard, so let's see if I can move the camera so we can get some light in here. Okay, so there, so all you're doing is you're just twisting a little bit. Okay, so twist with the spring, so you're sort of compressing the spring as you twist, not the opposite way, and that just comes out like that. And then in there, inside there is your screw, which is the same as these screws here. That's how you get that out. But if anybody can tell me how to get that out, there goes my torch, how to get that out, I'd love to know, because that ain't easy. But these ones with the springs from Superformance, this from Eurospares. I suggest Superformance, makes life easier. Okay. Now I'm just going to get myself organised here. So these leads, basically, these distributors come with 3 new screws too, by the way. These leads are basically the same packs. I don't think there's a left or a right. I think they're the same. I don't believe there's any difference to them, except for that one there could do with a trim, just a bit of a trim there on the coating, just to neaten that up a bit. It's a bit rough. A bit rough for a Ferrari, but I'll fix that one up. Okay. Just going to cut this bag open carefully. If I have a sharp knife. I don't want to cut through my leads. And pop the leads out. And the leads are numbered. Got little tabs, numbers. That's number 1. Yeah, they're numbered at the bottom and at the top, like that. Which makes it really, really handy. So then all you got to do, so obviously your coil lead is going to be this one, as opposed to that. Pretty obvious. I mean, just copy what you take off. So if you're going to do the rear bank first, grab your rear bank set and just copy them. So make sure you get enough of this red stuff back here like this, enough cut off. So it needs to be a bit more like that than that. That's no good, that's not enough. You need to cut a bit more off. Just be really careful when you trim that. It should be like that. That's pretty much all you'll need, and you'll see the rest of them are pretty good. Yeah. This one's a little bit short, so not the best one, that one, but no big deal. Okay, so grab your distributor. Okay, pull your little spring out, don't lose the spring. All sorts of trouble if you do that. Okay, so I'm going to start with the little screwdriver, small screwdriver, find your screw. Be very careful with these screws, they are brass. There they are there, little pointy things. Okay, they're brass and you will lose them or you will strip them. So be careful with them. So I'm doing my coil first because that's pretty sensible. So orientate it so it's going to sit on the car like that. Okay, so lead's got a bit of a curve to it, so I'm going to sort of point it in the direction. Now you want that to seat. See how that compresses there? See that rubber? You want it to compress. Yeah, well, you don't want it to compress is what I'm saying. So you want to sort of trim that off a bit because it doesn't need to be like that. Yeah, so I'd rather trim that off, to be honest. You want to be really careful when trimming this stuff off. You can fold it back like that, which I would suggest is probably a better idea than trimming it. See how my little sleeve there? I'm going to do that. I'm not going to trim it because I don't want to ruin them. They're expensive, these things. So you want it to seat all the way in, so it's still got a little bit of compression there. You can see the concertina there in the red tubing, so I'm going to pull it back a little bit more. And then see that it sits nice and sweet. It's actually looks quite good. So you can put it down more than what you need, and you can always push it back up afterwards. So you want it to seat, so it's seating. Then I'm going to orientate, this comes out this way, a bit of a curve, so I'm going to orientate it. Now, this little spike is basically going to pierce the lead like that. It's just going to pierce and go into it and make contact. Yeah, you don't need to strip these back and pull a little bit of the centre wire around, which some people do that. I don't say don't do it, but you don't have to do it. So you put your screw in and make sure it's seated. So hold it there so it's seated in nicely. Get your screwdriver in there. Make sure you orientate it properly. I'm just trying to see what I'm doing here. It's just about night here now, so I'm finding it difficult to see things at this time of night. You don't have to pull the screws all the way out, by the way. They don't have to come out all the way. So, I'm just going to drop that in. Put my lead out, just drop it in there so it's in. Seated in. Now I should feel it actually pierce, and then you screw it in. So that's now piercing the lead. Screw it in until it seats, and then check. Nope, I missed it. Okay, where did it go? Bummer. I must have had too much screw in there to begin with, and it didn't seat it. So bring your screw out again. Maybe you do need to take it out completely. Make sure you've got it in the right one. Rotate it. Screw in. Try not to cross thread them. You don't want to cross thread them. That's definitely bitten there. Oh, what's going on here? Okay, cool. Don't do your little screws up too tight. You will strip the screw. So then put you wind your little spring back in. It's not hard to put in or take out. Just wind him in. Sorry, the light's not that great here. Remember, wind him in so you're getting spring back in. There he is, like that. That's what sits on your rotor. And make sure it's in, and you can just push the sleeve up. And that's basically what you do for each of them. So you just copy for all four. You just copy them. Okay. Once I've done those four, I'll come back. Okay, so I've got all the leads in. They're all in. I've tugged on them a little bit to make sure, and make sure they're seated. They're seated in, as in the screws seated in. Now the screws on the outside that go into the block, basically, through there. Okay. They're rounded, so they're a round screw, as opposed to the ones that come out are hex, so you can't use a socket on those. So I'm just replacing, I'm using the old ones, and I'm just going to replace the new ones, the old ones. I just prefer to use the socket than a screwdriver on them. Exact same thread, same size, no different. Okay, a little bit longer obviously there. Okay, but that's not going to make any difference. I've already got two in there, and you can see you don't need a thread that long. Okay. However, I put two in, and I had trouble trying to get this third one in. And I tried it and tried it and tried it, and then I thought, there's something wrong. So I had a look inside, and they haven't tapped a thread in that particular slot. Bully for me. So I'm going to have to tap a thread. Now what's inside there, okay, is this little tiny bit here. That's all it is. So it's not a deep thread to put in. So your screw will go into it and bite in and screw up. Okay, just like that. So that's what it's going in. So I've got to tap a thread as thick as that. Or should I say, as deep as that. So, bit of a bummer. It's a bit of a pain really, because you really don't need a thread in there necessarily. The only reason you have it there is so when you take off the distributor, that stays on. So in other words, I screw that out like that, and that just stays in there, you know what I mean? It needs to pass through that anyway, so it screws in and then passes through, and then this part screws in to the head, basically. So, yeah. Worst case scenario, I drill it out a little bit more so I can fit the width of that thread in if I don't have a tap. No big deal, but still, quality control. Not Super Performance problem. They don't make the parts necessarily, they get the parts made. Maybe a little friendly email to them, let them know, let their supplier know that bit of quality control. Can't screw him in. So I don't really want to drill it out. I'd rather put a thread in there, so I'm going to look through my taps and see if I can tap a thread. Anyhow, I'll get back to you. So I've got the right size tap. I'm going to tap that thread in. As you can see, it's in there. So sorry the light's so bad here. Might go get myself a better light. 2 secs. Not sure if that's better. But anyhow. Okay, so tapping the thread. It's very soft, it's brass, so it doesn't take much to put it in. And out I go. Got to be really careful doing this. The last thing you want to do is crack any of it. This body here, you know, don't crack it. Okay. Now my old screw, hopefully doesn't make a fool of me, and it screws in. And problem solved. Not a biggie, but you know, if you didn't have a tap, well, you wouldn't be fitting it tonight, would you? You have to go to the hardware store tomorrow and get yourself a tap. Luckily I have taps. So check them. Easy fix. It's not a big deal. So this one's basically ready to go back on the car, and I'll do a quick video of putting that back on. It's basically the reverse of taking it off. It's not hard. Everything's numbered. But I'll be back. Okay, my rear bank's already on. I'm going to now put these on. Okay, so basically just going to let them drop through there. Get my socket out. I've got the rotor buttons on, the new rotor buttons. I'm just going to finger this one on. This point. These really don't need to be done up tight. Well, tight but not really tight, because you pull it, you'll crack the housing. You don't want to crack the housing. Would not be good. These suckers alone are worth 70, I think £79. So basically double that, almost Australian, at 130 odd dollars each. Australian, so they're not cheap items. So you want to be careful with them. I'm just not sure if I'm actually getting them. Didn't sound good, did it? I am getting it in now, but I did drop my socket. Luckily that was pretty easy to find. So you're basically just putting these on. So it's going with my dome nuts. looking a little bit tired. It's sad because they're fairly new. Okay, so you just want to tweak these. Literally just have it so it's not going to fall off. Don't tighten them right up, because you're only going to crack it. Okay, now let's put leads. So the first one I'm going to find is the coil lead. Feed it under all these pipes. Basically it's just plug it in. So I don't know if you really need me to show you how to do that. If you don't know how to plug leads in, well, I guess you shouldn't really be doing this job, because it's not really that hard. That's number 2, so it's way over there. Backwards. So number 1. Take him through. Number 3. Take him through. And number 4. Try and make him nice and neat. So, hook him on and press him down. Clean him off if he's got a bit of grease or oil on him. Make him look neat. I turn him up because I have them up the top rather than down the bottom. There's a reason for that. Down the bottom, they're too close to the headers and they cook. This one's always a pain to get on. So basically it's just put these through. You don't have to watch me struggle with these, I guess. It's just basically put these on. Not hard, you're just going to make sure you've got your extensions in. Get it on your extension. When they're new, they're pretty tight, so you've got to really manipulate them and force them on. What I'll do is I'll stick them on and then I'll come back. Okay, the leads and distributor caps, new rotor buttons and new leads are in. Now you can see here I've got little tyres here. I made these tyres, they're homemade. There isn't anything to mount them up on these things right here. There isn't anything to mount them, so I've just made those and it's all done. It was a bit of a pain, to be honest. It's not a technically hard job, it's just a fiddly job, a bit of a pain, but they're all done. And as I said, I run them up the top there rather than down the bottom here, right next to the headers and the water pipes and so on. Not good. Ruins them. Anyway, I'm going to start it up and hopefully I've got all my leads in the correct way. The back's already done. As you can see, more of those tyres. Just there and there. Homemade, just out of some heavy duty plastic and some heat paint, basically the same paint that's on the plenum and the cam covers. Anyhow, yeah, well that's it. I hope that helps someone out. Cheers.